In this episode, we're talking about the meat of the 59 and a half rebellion: relationships, purpose, geography, healthcare, and building a flexible plan that actually fits your life. So fellow rebel, buckle up. Here we go. For business owners out there, maybe you're going to want to counsel young people as they start businesses and how that's going to grow. So you're not only giving back, but you're pursuing that passion and getting that energy. I know, for instance, when Will comes into my office and wants to work through a client scenario of their planning and its sophisticated stock options and difficult vesting requirements and distribution plans with Roth conversions and things that are complicated and challenging, I get a lot of energy from that. I love doing that. I love looking through all of those things. So even if I was to retire at some point, I'd want to still be involved in some way doing that kind of work, where helping families out, understanding the dynamics of how plans go, those kind of things. That's my thing. But for you, there's got to be something in there. And maybe it's something you do at work that you really enjoy, that you can parlay into a side gig, a future business if you want, whatever, when you're going to downshift from whatever you're doing today. But having some of that charted out and how actually laying out a week in how you're going to spend your time when you get to retirement, and understanding those identity priorities is super important so that you're not flailing about. And again, this is something I firmly believe you have to test drive and get a feel for how that's going to work before you actually execute on it. Next thing then is geography. So when we're talking about geography, I'm thinking a lot about people become empty nesters. We go through that transition. We really take a look at where we're living. And do we want to downsize? Do we want to right size? Do we want to change the house that we're living in so it's more suitable for just the two of us, or whatever your arrangement is, but we also maybe want room for the kids to come back? All of those challenges kind of happen when you're dealing with geography. The other thing is, do you still want to live where you're living when you retire? We have this conversation frequently because some people are thinking about moving to a lower tax state. Some are thinking about going somewhere warmer. A lot of folks, I'm finding, are basing their housing decisions, their geography decisions, on where their children are going to end up, which in a lot of cases we don't know, because if your family's like mine, the kids get scattered all over the place, and it's fun to visit them and but setting up shop in a certain area can be a little bit daunting because you're not quite sure where they're going to end up, and eventually maybe the grandkids are going to end up. But getting a thought about what your geography plan is going to look like if you want a second home in a certain place. I think one of the most wonderful creations economically in the marketplace over the last few years has been the VRBO system. It allows you to try so many things out without commitment. You can go to a place for a week, for two, get a feel for a city. Lisa and I recently went to Reno in February this year just to try it out. We'd never been. We've been to Utah and other parts of Nevada, California. We just wanted to see how it was. We had a great time, wonderful food, got a feel for the community and stuff, and we'll probably move on to some other place next. But it gives you a chance to try this geographic challenge out a little bit before you actually have to commit to it or use it when you get to retirement. So just be thinking about those things, how you want that to look like. The other part, when you're thinking about either downsizing, moving, second home, whatever it may be for you, is what that community looks like. So a lot of people will want to downsize into a certain area, and then they get there and they find they don't like the neighbors, they don't like the way the community vibes, they don't have a lot to do. So be thinking about the people side of your geography as well as the financial side of how that's going to work. It's definitely gotten more difficult to move because a lot of empty nesters, a lot of pre-retirees, you're all sitting on low interest mortgages or no debt at all on a house, and taking on new debt or moving pre-retirement can be a little bit daunting. That's why a good plan remains so important, and sampling a few different scenarios with your advisor as to what if I move, what if I add this house, what if I make this change, how that's going to impact the longer term and your guardrails and those kind of things is really, really important. Last place then is relationships. When we're thinking about our relationships, we need to understand what life is going to be like when we're back at home. So I've spoken to a few couples here recently about somebody quit working, retired, sold a business. They're at home a lot more than they were. How that dynamic is going to work with your significant other while you're there, and understanding who's going to be where at what time, how the flow of the house is going to work. All of that kind of stuff is definitely part of this test drive framework, where we try these things out a little bit, and or at least think about them, how they're going to work when life changes and when I do retire. So the relationship side of this is huge. It's a big part of feeling good about moving into the next stage of life without a lot of apprehension and concern. So what I firmly believe in the framework methodology and the 59 and a half rebellion is that I do believe practicing this stuff does reduce apprehension. And it also can prevent you from making some larger mistakes, from thinking, all right, I'm ready, when actually you're not. Or I didn't think I was ready, but I am. Some of the test drive thing can free that up as well. So that's a big part of this. This is why I think it's so important and such a great way to get a feel for, am I truly ready for what's going to come next? And by getting a little practice, it's like anything. You'll get better at it. You'll have a better feel for how it's going to go. Gives you a better chance to win. All right, the 59.5 rebellion is not just about going crazy, blowing off steam, whatever you want to call it. It's not about taking undue risks. You still need a plan. When we talk about planning here at Prairie Fire, we talk a lot about guardrails. Those guardrails allow you to know on the high side and the low side what your spending plan can look like. And that high side and that low side give you a feel for, where can I take more risk, where do I need to take less risk? What's going to happen if I have a long-term care issue? What's going to happen if the market deeply corrects when I first retire? All of those kind of things can be answered in that. And it can allow for some of these 59.5 rebellion tactics to take place, where you pull a little bit of money out without deeply impacting your plan or impacting it at all in most cases. What it's going to look like if I try a second home, what it's going to look like if I add a $10,000 a year travel budget to what I'm doing. Whatever it is for you, having that flexibility and understanding your guardrail plan is very, very important to all this. The also thing that you need to be thinking about is tax strategy, tax diversification. A lot of people just think, I'm gonna pull my taxable money, I'm gonna pull my IRA money, then I'll think about what I'm gonna do with my Roth dollars down the road. In a lot of cases, mixing that up a little bit, converting some more to Roth before you get into your 70s. Those type of strategies are very, very important, and the earlier you address them, especially if you're going to retire early, income's going to come down. It affords you opportunities to make some changes to your tax situation that your 85-year-old self will be very grateful for. Because in many cases, if you don't do some of that proactive planning, getting to a later stage of retirement can be a shock as to how much you have to take out forced by the government that you could have proactively planned for earlier. So again, flexibility, having a tax strategy and diversification strategy, very, very important. A lot of people think also then about, in flexibility, changing your career strategy to downshifting, to going part-time, to doing something with your firm where you can keep your health care, whatever the case may be, but not just the full-on stop. Like I mentioned earlier, maybe using a dimmer switch philosophy to retirement versus a one and done. It's gotta be a hard stop at a certain period of time. A lot of companies, a lot of places of work, a lot of businesses are allowing for more flexibility here because they still want your wisdom, they still want your experience, but they understand that you're not going to want to work 40 hours a week perhaps, and you can still do something in there. So that part-time thing, back to identity and passions. Maybe there's something that you've always wanted to do, and the financial side has given you the ability to do that, but you can still engage, still be working in some way, shape, or form, and moving on to something better that you really, really enjoy, that doesn't even feel like work, but you're making a little bit of compensation that allows your money to sit and grow for a few more years. Social Security. A big part of financial flexibility is understanding what your Social Security plan is going to look like. And so we need to have a feel for, are we going to claim at 62? Are we going to wait till 70? When is that going to happen in there? And having an approach to knowing when that's going to happen before you pull the trigger. A lot of people have very strong opinions about Social Security, and a lot of these can come from friends, family, the media, whatever the case may be. You got to have a good plan here because you can leave a lot of money on the table by not doing Social Security right. So making sure you've got a maximization strategy that's right for your family based on longevity, health, all of those different things, as well as your income flows, is a big part of having the financial flexibility part sorted here. And then a big part of talking about retiring early, being a rebel at 59.5, is figuring out healthcare. There is ways to figure this out. I know it's very daunting. This is the biggest hindrance that I see for people that want to retire early, is how to figure this part out. How am I going to pay for healthcare? How much is it going to cost? We have experts that we work with that can help shop different options for you here, understand how that healthcare bridge is going to work, but it shouldn't be the reason you don't do something. It should just be part of the plan. I'll say that again. It shouldn't be the reason you don't pull the trigger early. Healthcare shouldn't. Figuring it out, knowing what it's going to cost, where's that money going to come from, is all part of a good plan. So just because it can seem like in the back of your mind that's going to be the reason that you stay in a place that you dislike, or you know financially you've probably got worked out but you just don't want the hassle, don't let healthcare be that block that stops you from doing what's really, really important for you. So there you have it. We have much more to come. I hope you'll subscribe and learn more about the 59.5 Rebellion. Thank you so much for joining us.